Hey there, this is Jamie.Pelaez and it's day number 29 of my 90-day vlog challenge. And today I'm going to tell you stop asking for permission to live your life. Now, I'm not talking about don't ever consult God and pray and meditate on something and ask for an answer. I'm talking about those times when you already know the answer. And instead of going with what some people, they call it their gut instinct, their intuition, listening to your heart, that inner voice, or as I like to call it, the Ruwach HaKodesh, aka the Holy Spirit, when you just know, and you just know that you know, you don't need to go consult. You don't need to go consult God, and you definitely don't need to go consult your friends and your family, okay? Why do people do that? Now, I'm not just talking to you, okay? I have done this before. I am guilty as charged, okay? Why do people always want acceptance or for someone to just say, yeah, you're right, you're on the right track, when you already know that you're on the right track and you already know you have the right answer? You don't really need to consult anyone. Why do we look for that approval? There's a lot of reasons. But some of them are, maybe you grew up in a dysfunctional home and you didn't get a lot of acceptance. So now as an adult, you're seeking acceptance. And so even though you already know the answer, you just want to hear someone say, hey, Jane, you're doing a great job, or Joe, you're doing awesome, that's correct, or something. You just want that edification. You just want that reassurance, because a lot of times maybe you didn't get that in your past. So now you cling on to it for dear life and look for it even when you don't need it. Or maybe you were like me, and that was part of the issue, and you got to a point where you started second guessing that Ruwach HaKodesh, that intuition, and because you didn't understand what that was, you didn't even know that that was something special that each one of us is given as a gift from God, and instead you thought it was yourself, and you didn't trust yourself at the time and didn't believe in yourself at the time. So then you started self-sabotage yourself by completely ignoring that voice. Or sometimes it's that you hear that voice and you just choose not to listen because it makes no sense to you. It doesn't seem logical. So you start analyzing everything. And then you realize, later on, hey, I should have listened to that voice. So a lot of times when people are looking for acceptance, it's because they're craving it. They don't have it. So they're looking for someone to just tell them they're on the right path, that they're not insane, that it is okay, and that they've got it right. If a person agrees with you, then that's okay. That ends up working out sort of okay, because then you feel relief. Okay, I was not insane. That thought I had, or that voice I heard was right, and so you go with it. And that's a good scenario. But what happens when the person you go to for advice totally disagrees with the Ruwach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, that intuition? What happens then? This is where it becomes a bad scenario. Especially if you're a person that was really looking for that recognition from that friend or family member, and then you get the opposite answer of what you heard inside of you. This is where it gets bad. Because that person will then start second-guessing themselves, start second-guessing that intuition, start second-guessing the Ruwach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And 9 times out of 10, that person will second-guess themselves to the point that they'll do the opposite of what they know they should be doing. And this applies to all kinds of scenarios. This could be a life or death situation. This could be a relationship situation. This could be, deciding to make a career change situation, deciding to start a new project. You get my drift, okay? So what happens is when this happens on a regular basis, we as people start going astray because we're seeking acceptance and asking permission to the wrong people. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to get advice from a friend or family member, but there's a couple things that you need to consider. One, do you already innately know the answer? Because if you already innately know the answer, then you don't need to seek advice or ask permission from anyone. You already know what you need to do. Now, if for some reason you don't have that intuition in that particular instant, and you're not sure of what you should do, then you should pray and meditate on it. And then you can also go to people that you trust. That goes back to that circle of influence we talked about, I think a week ago or a few weeks ago. Know who you're speaking to. Does that person have your best interest at hand? Do they truly love you unconditionally? Do they truly accept you as who you are? Do they have any motive for their answer? Or is it genuinely coming from their best interest for you because they love you and accept you as is? Or is there some kind of motive for how they're going to answer? For instance, let's talk about a relationship situation. Let's say you had several different suitors and you weren't sure which one to go with. Well, if you asked your best friend who happened to have a crush on one of those people that you didn't know that they had a crush on, well, they might have a motive to not tell you who they really think is the best because of that situation. And that's just one example. This could go for business, and like I said, this is a general rule. This applies to everything. So what happens is, like I said, we start losing ourselves. We start losing our connection to our intuition, our Holy Spirit, that inner guidance, the GPS that God has given us from birth on. We lose that connection, we sever it, we second guess it, we no longer trust it or believe it, even though it's never been wrong. It didn't do a thing to us. It's always been 100% right and only there to help us and better us and keep us from harm and just put us in the best situations possible. And that's where we start just decaying as human beings. And we have problems after problems. And it seems like nothing, ever goes right, or that there's just always something that happens. And it's because we've lost that connection and we no longer trust ourselves. We no longer trust that inner voice from God. And bad things start to happen. And we become needy on acceptance from other people. We become needy on wanting their approval. When you don't need their approval, you don't need their approval. It's okay, like I said, to ask advice when you don't already know the answer. But if you already know the answer, you don't need anyone's advice. And you don't even need to pray about it because, hello, God's the one that sent you that information in the first place. So you don't need to reconfirm with what He's already provided you. You, probably like many people, need to get in touch with that inner voice again. Learn to love it, trust it, respect it. Because that is the only thing in this world that 100% has the true right intentions for you. Because it's made for you and you alone. So you can either continue to keep looking for approval. You can continue to keep asking for permission to live the best life possible, to truly be your best self. Or you can decide that you don't need permission from anyone because God's already given it to you. And that is the ultimate power. Just a little bit more words for thought. All right, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye for now.